The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Graduation was always a celebrated affair, a rite of passage marked by heartfelt speeches, proud families, and promises of a bright future. On this day, however, the energy was different. Whispers filled the room, students exchanging glances while parents fanned themselves in the summer heat. There was no escaping the sense that something unusual was about to happen. Row after row of students sat in their caps and gowns, eagerly awaiting their moment to walk across the stage. Among them sat Layla, her head bowed slightly, as though she wanted to disappear into the crowd. Her classmates barely acknowledged her presence. To them, Layla had always been invisible, or worse, the subject of cruel ridicule. "She probably paid for that gown with janitor money," one boy sneered under his breath. The others laughed, but Layla didn't flinch. She was used to it by now. Her story was one of struggle, quiet resilience, and sacrifice, though few knew the full extent of it. Layla's family had fallen on hard times when her father's construction business collapsed after a financial downturn. Her mother worked long hours at a diner just to keep food on the table, but the bills piled up faster than they could be paid. Despite their circumstances, Layla excelled in school. Her sharp mind and determination made her a favorite among teachers, though it also set her apart from classmates who saw her as an outsider. When rumors spread that she had taken up a janitorial job at the school to help her family, the teasing intensified. They called her "Beggar Girl" and mocked her relentlessly. "You'll never be anything more than a cleaning lady," one girl had told her in the hallway, flipping her hair dismissively. "Might as well get used to it." Layla had walked away without a word, but inside, each insult carved into her resolve. Still, she never let their words define her path. While they partied on weekends, Layla mopped floors and scrubbed lockers, often staying late into the night. She knew it was temporary. This was a step towards something greater, even if her classmates couldn't see it. Now, on this momentous day, the same classmates who had tormented her sat waiting to bask in their own glory. They had no idea that Layla was about to change the narrative entirely. The principal stepped up to the podium, his voice booming through the speakers. "Today, we honor not just the achievements of our students but the incredible journeys they have taken to reach this milestone. Every graduate has a story, a unique path filled with challenges and triumphs." Layla's heart thudded in her chest. The principal's words washed over her as memories of her late night cleaning shifts and relentless study sessions played in her mind. She hadn't told anyone what was coming, not even her family knew the full extent of her accomplishments. The ceremony continued, name after name being called as students made their way to the stage. Cheers erupted for popular athletes and class favorites, while polite claps followed for the quieter achievers. Layla sat quietly, waiting her turn, unnoticed as always. But when the principal cleared his throat and read out the next name, everything changed. Layla Thompson. The room fell silent, the air thick with disbelief. Slowly, Layla stood, her face calm yet resolute. As she made her way to the stage, murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Wait, what?" a girl whispered to her friend. "She got an award." "Must be a mistake," the friend replied. But it wasn't. The principal smiled warmly as Layla approached the microphone. "Layla Thompson has not only maintained the highest GPA in our school's history, but she has also demonstrated unparalleled dedication and resilience. Her journey serves as an inspiration to us all." Layla's classmates sat in stunned silence. The girl they had dismissed as a beggar was now being honored as valedictorian. Even more shocking, the principal continued, in recognition of her outstanding achievements, Layla has been awarded a full academic scholarship to one of the nation's most prestigious universities. Gasps filled the auditorium. Parents whispered in disbelief, while students exchanged bewildered glances. Layla stood tall, her voice steady as she began her speech. "I want to thank my teachers, my family, and everyone who believed in me," she said, scanning the crowd. "To those who didn't believe in me, I also want to thank you. Your doubts fueled my determination. Her words hung in the air, charged with both grace and quiet defiance. The same classmates who had once laughed at her now sat motionless, their expressions ranging from shock to admiration. But Layla wasn't finished. Life isn't about where you start, she continued. It's about how you choose to rise above your circumstances. I didn't clean floors because I had to. I did it because I knew that hard work would open doors that others couldn't close on me. The auditorium erupted in applause, some hesitant, others enthusiastic, but all acknowledging the undeniable truth of her journey. Layla's parents, seated near the back, wiped tears from their eyes. They had always known their daughter's strength, but seeing her recognized in such a public way filled them with pride beyond words. As the ceremony concluded, students gathered in small groups, still reeling from the unexpected turn of events. Some approached Layla hesitantly, offering awkward congratulations. I guess we were wrong about you, one boy admitted sheepishly. Layla smiled graciously. It's never too late to learn, she replied simply. In that moment, Layla wasn't just a graduate or a scholarship recipient. She was a testament to resilience, a living reminder that dignity and determination could silence even the harshest of critics. What began as a story of hardship and ridicule had transformed into one of triumph, not just for Layla, but for everyone who witnessed her rise. And as the community reflected on her journey, one question lingered in the minds of all who had doubted her. If Layla could overcome every obstacle and thrive, what was stopping the rest of them? After the applause had faded and the students dispersed to celebrate their achievements, Layla found a quiet spot near the edge of the campus grounds. The sunlight dappled through the trees, casting soft shadows over the green lawn. The air buzzed with distant laughter and the occasional cheer, but for Layla, this was a moment of solitude, a chance to absorb the weight of what had just transpired. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the silence. A flood of messages from old classmates, distant relatives, and even teachers filled her screen. Some were congratulatory, others apologetic. I guess we underestimated you, Layla. Congrats, read one text from a girl who had led much of the teasing back in sophomore year. Another message declared, we always knew you were smart, but this is next level. Layla scrolled through the messages without responding, her mind elsewhere. The journey here hadn't been about proving anyone wrong, but standing up on that stage and seeing the shock on her classmates' faces had stirred something inside her, a bittersweet triumph she wasn't sure how to process. The door to her past had cracked open, flooding her with memories she had long since buried. She thought back to that pivotal day 2 years earlier, the day that had forced her to grow up faster than any teenager should have to. It had been an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Layla was finishing up her shift at the school, wiping down desks and emptying trash cans after the final bell rang. The faint echoes of student chatter still reverberated through the halls, but the building was mostly empty. Her earbuds played a calming playlist to drown out the monotony of her work. Cleaning wasn't glamorous, but it was honest, and Layla took pride in knowing she was helping keep the school running smoothly. She had just finished mopping the hallway when she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw a group of students from the varsity basketball team lingering by their lockers, even though they should have been gone by now. Their laughter echoed down the hall, sharp and mocking. Hey, beggar girl, one of them called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Shouldn't you be home scrubbing toilets or something? Layla's grip on the mop tightened, but she kept her eyes forward, pretending not to hear them. Another boy chimed in, you gonna clean up our mess too? We could spill something real nice for you. The laughter that followed was a chorus of cruelty Layla had endured for years. Normally, she would have ignored it, but something inside her snapped that day. Maybe it was the exhaustion from working late nights while juggling advanced placement courses. Maybe it was the sting of always being seen as less than. Whatever it was, Layla turned to face them. I work because I have goals, she said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. And one day, you're going to wish you had half my drive. The hallway fell silent for a moment, the boys caught off guard by her boldness. But the ringleader recovered quickly, smirking. "Yeah. We'll see where that drive gets you. Probably scrubbing floors forever." Layla didn't respond. She knew their words were meant to wound, but they had inadvertently fueled her resolve even further. They didn't know it, but she was already laying the foundation for something they could never touch, her dreams. Over the next few months, Layla's life became a whirlwind of long shifts and intense study sessions. Every dollar she earned went to help her family or save for her college applications. Her mother worried about her overworking, often pleading for Layla to slow down. "You're just a kid," her mother would say. "Let yourself be one." But Layla couldn't afford that luxury. Not when her family was counting on her. Not when she knew education was the key to breaking the cycle of hardship. By senior year, her efforts began to bear fruit. Teachers nominated her for scholarships, recognizing her academic excellence and resilience. One evening, after submitting her final application for a prestigious university, she sat down at the kitchen table with her mother and siblings. "Whatever happens," Layla said, her voice firm, "we're going to be okay. I promise." Her mother smiled through tear-filled eyes, squeezing Layla's hand. "We already are, sweetheart. Because we have you." Those words stayed with Layla in the months leading up to graduation. The sacrifices, the ridicule, the late nights, they had all been worth it. Even as her classmates celebrated prom and senior skip days, Layla remained focused on the bigger picture. She didn't need their validation. She had built her own success from the ground up, and nothing could take that away from her. Still, she hadn't anticipated just how dramatically her life would change after that fateful graduation ceremony. Within days of her speech going viral on social media, thanks to a proud teacher who recorded the entire thing, Layla became a local sensation. Interviews poured in from news outlets curious about the girl who had defied expectations. Reporters wanted to know how she managed to balance school, work, and family obligations while achieving such remarkable success. Layla answered each question humbly, always giving credit to her family and teachers. "I didn't do this alone," she often said. "My community lifted me up." But fame came with its own set of challenges. Some of her former classmates reached out, hoping to reconnect under friendlier terms. Others continued to spread rumors, unwilling to accept her triumph as anything more than a fluke. "People love a good underdog story," one anonymous social media post read. "But let's be real, she's still just a janitor who got lucky." Those comments stung, but Layla reminded herself that success was measured by more than public opinion. She had secured a future on her own terms, and no one could diminish that. As summer turned to fall and Layla prepared to leave for college, the town held a community event in her honor. Neighbors, teachers, and even former classmates gathered to celebrate her achievements and send her off with well wishes. Standing on the small stage set up in the town square, Layla looked out at the crowd. The same streets where she had once walked home in tears now brimmed with pride and support. "I used to think success was about proving people wrong," Layla said into the microphone. "But now I know it's about proving to yourself that you can rise above anything." The crowd erupted in applause, but Layla's mind drifted to the quiet moments that had defined her journey. The mop in her hands, the nights spent poring over textbooks, the words of her mother encouraging her to hold her head high, all of it had shaped who she was. And as she stepped down from the stage that evening, Layla knew one thing for certain: her story was far from over. It was just the beginning of something greater. The brisk autumn wind brushed against Layla's face as she stood outside the university's towering library. The sprawling campus buzzed with activity, students rushing between classes, laughter echoing across the quad, and professors deep in conversation by stone benches. It was a world far removed from her small-town roots, yet it was precisely where Layla belonged. Her first few weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions. The classes were intense, far more challenging than anything she had encountered in high school, but Layla thrived under pressure. Each lecture, lab session, and study group only fueled her determination. This was what she had worked for, the opportunity to learn, grow, and build a future not only for herself but for her family. Still, old insecurities lingered. The whispers of past ridicule sometimes echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of how far she had come and the doubts she still wrestled with. In moments of solitude, she questioned whether she truly fit in among these students, most of whom came from privileged backgrounds and had never known the weight of financial struggle. One afternoon, during a campus networking event, those insecurities bubbled to the surface. Layla stood by the refreshments table, observing groups of students effortlessly engaging in conversations about summer internships, family business ventures, and exclusive travel experiences. "So, where did you intern last summer?" a polished student with designer clothes and an air of confidence asked, turning to Layla with polite curiosity. She hesitated for a moment before answering honestly. "I was working as a janitor at my high school." The student's eyebrows lifted in surprise, though to his credit, he masked it quickly. "That's different," he said carefully. "Must have been a character-building experience." Layla offered a polite smile, but inside, a familiar ache resurfaced. No matter how much she achieved, it seemed her past would always precede her. Later that evening, as she sat alone in her dorm room, Layla thought back to her mother's words, "Hold your head high." The weight of expectations and lingering prejudice pressed heavily on her shoulders, but she knew she couldn't let it define her. If anything, it was just another challenge to overcome. Her resolve strengthened when she received an unexpected email the next morning. It was from Dr. Henderson, a renowned professor and advocate for underrepresented students in STEM fields. He had read about Layla's story in a local news article and wanted to meet with her. Intrigued, Layla agreed to the meeting and found herself in the professor's book-lined office later that afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating framed photographs of past research teams and handwritten letters from grateful students. "Layla, thank you for coming," Dr. Henderson greeted her warmly. "I've been following your journey, and I must say, your resilience is nothing short of inspiring." "Thank you, sir," Layla replied, trying to mask her nervousness. "I'm just doing my best to make the most of this opportunity." "And you're doing an exceptional job. But I have a feeling you're capable of even more," he said, leaning forward. "Have you considered joining our campus research initiative? We're looking for driven students like you to tackle real-world challenges." Layla blinked, taken aback. "Me? On a research team?" Dr. Henderson nodded. "Absolutely. Your perspective is invaluable. You see problems, and solutions, through a lens many others don't. That's exactly what innovation needs." The idea sparked something inside Layla. She had spent so much of her life surviving, but this was a chance to create, to contribute meaningfully to a field she was passionate about. "I'd love to be a part of it," she said firmly. Over the following months, Layla immersed herself in research alongside a diverse group of students and faculty. They tackled complex challenges, from renewable energy solutions to community health initiatives. Despite the grueling hours and steep learning curve, Layla felt more alive than ever. Her team's groundbreaking work caught the attention of industry leaders, and invitations to present at conferences soon followed. Layla found herself traveling to cities she had only ever dreamed of, standing on stages before packed auditoriums, sharing her insights with experts and innovators. Back home, her family beamed with pride, eagerly following her journey through phone calls and video updates. "You're making waves, sweetheart," her mother said one evening. "But don't forget. You're already a success in my eyes." Despite the accolades and recognition, Layla remained grounded. She never lost sight of her roots or the community that had shaped her. During breaks, she returned to her hometown, not as a figure of fame but as the same determined young woman who had swept hallways and scrubbed desks. One cold December afternoon, as snow blanketed the streets, Layla visited her former high school. The familiar halls were quieter now, with students away for winter break. The janitorial staff, many of whom had become like extended family, greeted her warmly. "Look at you now, Mr. Ramos," the head custodian said with a wide grin. "Changing the world and making us proud." Layla laughed. "Still changing the world one clean hallway at a time." "You know it," he chuckled. "But seriously, Layla, you showed everyone what it means to rise above." The visit was a poignant reminder of how far she had come and the people who had supported her along the way. Yet, Layla knew her journey was far from over. Her commitment to uplifting others led her to establish a scholarship fund for students facing financial hardships. The Resilient Scholarship, as she called it, aimed to give young dreamers the support she had once needed. Layla made it a point to mentor recipients personally, sharing her story and encouraging them to pursue their passions fearlessly. By the time Layla graduated with honors, she was more than just a student who had defied expectations. She was a symbol of perseverance and possibility, proof that circumstances didn't define destiny. As the graduation ceremony concluded and her name echoed across the auditorium, Layla stood tall, her heart swelling with gratitude. Her mother, siblings, and even old high school teachers cheered from the audience, their pride palpable. After the ceremony, as Layla made her way through the sea of well-wishers, she spotted a familiar face. It was one of the boys who had once mocked her in the hallway. "Layla," he began awkwardly, his eyes downcast. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." Layla studied him for a moment before offering a nod. "Thank you. It's in the past." The encounter was brief but symbolic. Layla didn't need apologies to validate her journey. Her success spoke for itself. Later that evening, under a sky filled with stars, Layla reflected on the twists and turns that had brought her to this moment. From janitor to scholar, from small-town ridicule to global recognition, her story was a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who refuse to be defined by circumstance. And as she stood there, the night wrapping around her like a warm embrace, Layla knew her journey was only just beginning. She had so much more to give, to learn, and to achieve. Her story was far from over. It was a living, breathing reminder that no dream was too big and no heart too small to change the world. The sun shone brightly over the city skyline as Layla stepped into a glass-walled office, the hum of progress surrounding her. Life had changed drastically since her days of balancing janitorial work and school studies. The scholarship fund she had founded was thriving, providing financial relief and mentorship to hundreds of students from underprivileged backgrounds. The recognition Layla received from her groundbreaking research in renewable energy made her a sought-after speaker at global conferences, and major companies were eager to collaborate on new projects. Yet despite her accolades, Layla remained humble and deeply rooted in her values. She was determined to ensure her success served as a beacon for others struggling against adversity. Her schedule overflowed with commitments, but she always made time to speak directly to scholarship recipients, visiting community centers and educational programs to inspire others to follow their dreams. One chilly morning, during a mentorship session at a local high school, Layla met Arya, a shy but fiercely intelligent sophomore who reminded her of herself. Arya wore oversized glasses and clutched a worn notebook filled with sketches and notes about engineering ideas far beyond her grade level. "Miss Layla, do you really think someone like me can make it in a world where money and connections seem to matter more than talent?" Arya asked tentatively. Layla knelt beside her, looking directly into her eyes. "Arya, I know exactly how you feel. I had no connections, and my bank account didn't have much to say either. But talent, hard work, and staying true to your purpose. Those things will always matter more than you think. I believe in you, and so should you." The conversation ignited something within Arya, and Layla left that day knowing she had made a difference in at least one young life. But Arya wasn't the only one grappling with doubts. Layla faced new challenges herself, despite her growing influence. As her work attracted more attention, she encountered skepticism from industry leaders unwilling to acknowledge a young black woman as a pioneer in the field. During a prestigious conference in Europe, where Layla was set to present her findings on a groundbreaking solar energy system for low-income communities, whispers filled the grand auditorium before her presentation. Murmurs of doubt floated through the room. Some attendees questioned whether her ideas were viable or if her rise to prominence had been fueled more by sentimentality than substance. Layla stood at the podium, scanning the sea of faces. The weight of expectations pressed against her chest, but she steadied herself with a deep breath. Her voice carried through the vast hall. Unwavering and confident. I know what many of you are thinking: who is this young woman, and why should we listen to her? Layla began. I used to ask myself similar questions. But I'm here because innovation doesn't recognize race, gender, or social status. It recognizes ideas, and it recognizes passion. The room fell silent as Layla detailed the intricate design and implementation of her solar system, emphasizing the real-world impact it had already made in underprivileged neighborhoods. Data and testimonials supported her claims, and by the time she concluded, the skepticism had transformed into admiration. The crowd erupted into applause, many standing in ovation. Afterward, a seasoned engineer approached her, extending his hand. You proved me wrong, he admitted. I wasn't sure if your ideas were practical, but you've shown us all what true innovation looks like. I'd be honored to collaborate. Layla accepted the handshake, not out of validation but because every acknowledgement of her work meant progress for the communities she aimed to uplift. Despite the barriers she faced, she pressed on, carving out a space for herself and others like her in an industry that often resisted change. But life wasn't without personal trials. The demands of her growing career began to take a toll on her relationships. Calls to her family became less frequent, and the time she once spent visiting her hometown dwindled. One evening, as Layla prepared for yet another late-night strategy meeting, her phone buzzed with a message from her younger brother, Malik. Hey, sis. Miss you. When are you coming home? The simple words tugged at Layla's heart. Memories of their childhood filled her mind, nights spent huddled together under blankets sharing dreams for the future. She realized that in her quest to achieve greatness, she had unintentionally distanced herself from those who mattered most. The next weekend, Layla packed a small bag and made the drive back to her hometown. The familiar streets welcomed her with open arms, and as she pulled into the driveway of her family home, her mother emerged from the front door, tears glistening in her eyes. You're home, her mother whispered, pulling Layla into a warm embrace. We've missed you. Over the next few days, Layla reconnected with her family, sharing stories of her adventures and listening intently to their updates. Malik had started college, inspired by Layla's journey, and her younger sister, Nia, was excelling in art competitions. On her final night at home, Layla sat with her mother under a blanket of stars. The quiet serenity of the night provided a stark contrast to her bustling city life. Mom, I've been so caught up in everything that I forgot where I came from, Layla admitted. I needed to be reminded of what really matters. Her mother smiled gently. You've been carrying the weight of so many dreams on your shoulders. But remember, you don't have to do it alone. We're here for you. The visit grounded Layla, reigniting her commitment to balance her personal and professional life. She returned to the city with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to make space for both her ambitions and the relationships that anchored her. In the months that followed, Layla continued to break barriers in her field. Her research expanded internationally, bringing sustainable energy solutions to communities in need. The scholarship fund grew exponentially, supported by donors who believed in her vision. And Arya, the shy sophomore, won a national engineering competition with Layla's mentorship guiding her every step of the way. Despite the demands of her career, Layla made it a point to prioritize her family and community. She organized workshops in her hometown, connecting students with industry professionals and fostering a culture of innovation and support. One day, As she stood in front of a classroom filled with eager faces, Layla reflected on how far she had come. Her journey was one of resilience, transformation, and triumph, but it was far from over. She knew that her story was still being written, each chapter filled with lessons, growth, and the promise of a better tomorrow. And as she spoke to the students, sharing her experiences and challenges, Layla ended with a question that encapsulated the heart of her journey: what will you do with your story? The air was crisp as Layla walked through the familiar streets of her old neighborhood, now bustling with renewed energy. Her success had sparked a wave of hope among local residents, who took pride in the achievements of one of their own. Murals of Layla, painted by aspiring young artists, adorned community walls, symbolizing the power of determination and resilience. Yet for all the admiration and recognition she received, Layla knew that true progress required more than symbolic gestures. Real change came from tangible efforts, investments in education, mentorship, and sustainable growth. Back in her city office, Layla gathered with her team for a strategy meeting. The agenda focused on expanding the reach of her solar energy projects and creating additional scholarship opportunities. A recent breakthrough in her research had drawn the attention of government agencies and private sector investors eager to collaborate. Yet despite the momentum, Layla faced mounting pressures to compromise her vision. Several investors insisted that maximizing profit should take precedence over affordability for underprivileged communities. One executive, a graying man in an expensive suit, voiced his concerns bluntly during the meeting. "Layla, you've done remarkable work," he began, his tone both patronizing and firm. "But let's be realistic. If we don't adjust pricing and limit accessibility, the project risks being financially unsustainable." Layla leaned forward, her eyes unwavering. "The whole point of this project is accessibility. If we make it unaffordable, we defeat the purpose of empowering these communities. My vision is non-negotiable." Her conviction caused murmurs among the gathered executives, but Layla remained resolute. She had come too far to allow corporate greed to undermine her mission. In a bold move, she decided to walk away from partnerships that conflicted with her values, even if it meant facing financial setbacks. The media caught wind of her decision, sparking debates in business circles. Some praised her integrity, while others dismissed her as naive. Regardless of public opinion, Layla's commitment to her principles resonated deeply with communities worldwide. Donations poured in from individuals, inspired by her story, enabling her to continue her mission without the constraints of traditional corporate backing. As the solar project expanded internationally, Layla traveled to rural regions across different continents. She witnessed firsthand the transformative power of sustainable energy in communities that had previously relied on inconsistent or non-existent electricity sources. In one remote village in Southeast Asia, a local woman expressed her gratitude with tear-filled eyes. "Your work has given us more than just light," the woman said through a translator. "It's given our children the chance to learn and dream beyond the sunset." Moments like these reaffirmed Layla's purpose, reminding her that success wasn't measured by profits but by the lives positively impacted by her efforts. However, her journey was far from smooth. During one project rollout, sabotage attempts threatened to derail the initiative. Layla's team discovered that competitors with vested interests in traditional energy were behind the acts of interference. Determined not to be intimidated, Layla took immediate action. She increased security measures, collaborated with legal experts, and leveraged media attention to expose the unethical tactics. The public outrage that followed forced the culprits to back down, further solidifying Layla's reputation as a formidable force for positive change. Despite these external battles, Layla faced internal struggles as well. Balancing the demands of leadership with her personal life became increasingly challenging. Her relationship with a longtime friend, Marcus, who had supported her through thick and thin, began to strain under the weight of her responsibilities. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Marcus confronted her gently but firmly. "Layla, I admire everything you're doing. But when was the last time you did something just for yourself? Layla paused, the question hitting her harder than expected. Her mind raced through the endless list of tasks and commitments, realizing she had neglected her own well-being in the pursuit of her mission. "I guess I've forgotten what that feels like," she admitted softly. "You can't pour from an empty cup," Marcus reminded her. "Take care of yourself so you can keep taking care of others." Taking his words to heart, Layla made a conscious effort to carve out moments for self-care and personal reflection. She resumed her passion for painting, finding solace in the vibrant strokes of color that mirrored the complexities of her journey. The creative outlet became a source of renewal, allowing her to recharge and refocus. As Layla continued to navigate the challenges and triumphs of her work, she never lost sight of the importance of collaboration and community support. She established partnerships with grassroots organizations led by women and minorities, ensuring that her initiatives reflected diverse perspectives and experiences. One particularly impactful collaboration was with a group of young innovators who developed a groundbreaking app connecting rural communities to renewable energy resources and real-time support systems. The app became a game-changer, empowering users to monitor and maintain their energy systems independently. Layla's journey had come full circle. The once shy girl mocked for her worn clothes and janitorial job was now a global leader in innovation and empowerment. Her story inspired countless others to believe in their own potential, regardless of their circumstances. Yet for Layla, the journey was never about personal accolades. It was about creating a legacy that would endure long after her name faded from the headlines. She wanted every child, every dreamer facing seemingly insurmountable odds, to know that they too could rise above their challenges and change the world. As she stood at the helm of a movement that transcended borders, Layla reflected on the twists and turns that had brought her to this moment. The road had been filled with unexpected challenges and remarkable triumphs, each chapter shaping her into the woman she had become. Her story wasn't just a testament to resilience, it was a call to action. And as Layla prepared to address a global audience at her next conference, she left her team with a message that echoed the heart of her mission. Let's keep writing stories that matter, stories that light the way for others. Because when one dream takes flight, it carries countless others with it. The conference hall buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from all over the world had gathered to hear Layla speak. The program described her as a pioneer in sustainable energy and a champion for marginalized communities. Yet what captivated the audience wasn't just her achievements, it was her story, the journey of an ordinary girl who had defied expectations and redefined success. As Layla stepped onto the stage, the applause swelled, a powerful acknowledgement of her relentless journey. Taking a deep breath, Layla scanned the room filled with professionals, activists, educators, and young dreamers. She began her speech by recounting the challenges she faced growing up, the mocking words from classmates, the grueling janitorial job that funded her dreams, and the pivotal moments that shaped her path. At one point, Layla admitted, her voice steady but emotional, "I questioned if I had any place dreaming big. But I realized that sometimes, the very things that break us are the ones that build us stronger." The audience listened intently as Layla shared stories of community resilience, technological breakthroughs, and the importance of inclusivity. Her words resonated deeply, sparking both admiration and reflection. But as the conference concluded, Layla knew her mission was far from over. Afterward, as delegates mingled and networked, a young woman approached Layla hesitantly. Her eyes shimmered with inspiration and determination. "Your story gave me courage," she said softly. "I've always wanted to start a project to bring clean energy to my hometown, but everyone told me it was impossible." Layla smiled warmly. The best ideas often start with someone willing to challenge the impossible. Believe in your vision, and don't be afraid to take the first step. Encounters like these fueled Layla's passion, reinforcing her belief in the power of storytelling to ignite change. But as her influence grew, so did the challenges she faced. Skeptics questioned her decisions, competitors attempted to undermine her work, and bureaucratic hurdles slowed progress. One particularly grueling project involved bringing solar energy to a region plagued by corruption and political instability. Despite numerous setbacks, Layla pressed on, determined to fulfill her commitment. When local officials attempted to extort her team, she refused to be intimidated, leveraging media exposure and public support to bring transparency to the process. The project eventually succeeded, becoming a symbol of hope and progress. Yet even amidst these victories, Layla faced personal struggles. The demands of her work often pulled her away from loved ones, and the weight of responsibility grew heavier each day. Despite Marcus's earlier reminders to care for herself, Layla found it difficult to strike a balance between leadership and personal fulfillment. One evening, after a long day of negotiations, Layla sat alone in her office, surrounded by project plans and strategy documents. The city lights twinkled outside the window, but she felt a deep sense of solitude. Marcus's words echoed in her mind, "You can't pour from an empty cup." With a determined resolve, she vowed to make space for her personal life while continuing her mission. The following months marked a turning point for Layla. She implemented changes that allowed her team to take on greater responsibilities, empowering them to lead projects independently. This shift not only relieved Layla's burden but also cultivated a culture of shared leadership and innovation within her organization. As the solar initiative flourished, Layla received invitations to collaborate with global leaders and attend prestigious events. Despite the glamour, she remained grounded, always returning to the communities that inspired her mission. In one particularly emotional moment, Layla stood in the same high school gymnasium where classmates once mocked her. This time, she was there as a guest speaker, addressing a new generation of students. "I sat where you sit now," Layla told the students. "I know what it's like to feel invisible or underestimated. But remember, your potential isn't defined by other people's opinions. It's defined by your willingness to rise, to learn, and to keep going even when the road gets tough." Her words struck a chord, prompting standing ovations and sparking discussions about resilience and community impact. Layla's story became part of the school's curriculum, inspiring future generations to embrace their potential despite obstacles. One day, Layla received an unexpected letter from a former classmate, Olivia, who had been among those who mocked her years ago. The letter expressed deep regret for past actions and admiration for Layla's accomplishments. "I was wrong," Olivia admitted in the letter. "You showed us what true strength and leadership look like. Thank you for teaching us, even when we didn't deserve it." Layla read the letter thoughtfully, her heart filled with a mixture of emotions. She decided to meet Olivia for coffee, where they shared stories of growth and healing. The meeting underscored Layla's belief in the power of redemption and forgiveness. As Layla's journey continued, she never wavered in her commitment to social impact and innovation. Her organization expanded into education, healthcare, and environmental advocacy, creating opportunities for countless individuals worldwide. She also became a mentor to aspiring leaders, guiding them through the challenges of leadership while emphasizing the importance of authenticity and purpose. One particular mentee, a young engineer named Aaron, approached Layla with a groundbreaking idea for integrating solar technology with water purification systems in drought-prone regions. Layla supported his vision wholeheartedly, and together, they launched a pilot program that transformed struggling communities into thriving hubs of innovation and sustainability. Years later, as Layla reflected on her incredible journey, she recognized that her story wasn't just about personal triumph. It was about the collective power of community, resilience, and unwavering purpose. Her journey had inspired a global movement rooted in hope and possibility. Standing on the precipice of a new chapter, Layla addressed a gathering of community leaders and global changemakers. Her final message echoed the lessons of her life. "Our greatest strength is not in what we achieve alone but in what we build together. Let's keep building, dreaming, and daring to challenge the impossible." As the audience erupted in applause, Layla felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Her journey had come full circle, but the mission continued. And with every step forward, she knew the seeds she planted would grow into legacies far beyond her imagination.